What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Sports on Darius Aiden. I am Darius Adams, not to end myself, and we welcome you back to a brand new episode on a new week of Sports on Darius Aiden. Everybody, make sure go ahead and get out the way. Make sure to like, subscribe, make sure you get that bell for post notifications for every single video. Aiden, we have a jam-packed episode for you today. Make sure to catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and every other major podcast network. Oh, that's a tough thing to say, but Aiden, today's topic, we are talking Michael Thomas and the New Orleans Saints. Aiden, as you know, Michael Thomas has only played one game this season, whereas I call him Michael Mr. Slant Thomas. He's only played one game this season, and that one game he only racked up, I believe, 3 receptions for 17 yards. And since then, he has not played a game. Aiden, this season he has been hit by injuries, and he was so-called suspended due to an altercation with his teammate. So, Aiden, I'm going to give you the floor right here. What happened, and what is next for Michael Thomas?
Excuse me, had to take care of that for a second. Let's go over the full situation. All right, he's had hamstring and leg injuries the entire season. He allegedly punched a teammate, yells at Coach Sean Payton, who I know is a very respected member of their coaching staff. I know that he has a great stronghold on his team, so he was suspended for reasonable reasons. He's obviously been on and off with injuries, on and off. I believe that the next situation for him would most likely be a trade, but if he can reform his ways and possibly come out with an apology statement or try to defuse the situation or, play crowd control, maybe he can avoid a trade. Also, there's a thing where who wants to trade for Michael Thomas? I mean, he's I believe the second highest paid receiver in the league behind DeAndre, and Julio's below him. Yeah, I think it goes. Last time I checked, I think it would be DeAndre, Michael Thomas, Julio, then Odell in that order. But yeah, he's got a massive contract that not a lot of people would want to take up. Right? There's obviously some teams in dire need of receiver help, but he's obviously not going to suffice for any old team. But I don't think he'll have his pick of teams if he continues his way of acting. I believe that he needs to change his attitude, changes the way he acts. Get back in on training, get back on rehab your stuff. You're coming off of an Offensive Player of the Year award. You're coming off an Offensive Player of the Year award, right? You just had your best season. You just had the single season reception record. What are you doing? You're getting paid all the money in the world, right? There's only one guy in the league at your position paid more than you. So get your butt up there, run your routes, stop punching teammates, stop yelling at coaches, and do your job unless you want to be somewhere else doing your job.
Aiden, I pretty much have the same approach on you. Surprisingly, on this subject, let's take a look at Michael Thomas' resume, Aiden. He is a 3-time Pro Bowler, a 2-time All-Pro wide receiver, and as you mentioned, he is the reigning AP Offensive Player of the Year. And Aiden, I am not going to sit up here and say that Michael Thomas is the best wide receiver in the league. In my mind, it's DeAndre Hopkins. In my mind, it's DeAndre Hopkins. It's DeAndre.
The receiver we've seen from Julio, yeah.
Right, but Aiden, when he's healthy, he is dynamic, and he is definitely in the discussion for one of the biggest threats on the offensive side of the ball. And Aiden, I had the liberty of going down to the research department today, and I found out that last year, in 2019, 1/3 of Drew Brees' touchdown passes came from Michael Thomas. So you can tell that he is a huge target.
Can I say that real quick? I'm sorry. I'd like to add that I believe that the only reason, and it's not just me, this is a commonly known fact, I believe that the only reason that he had broken that reception record was because Drew Brees was force feeding them the ball the whole time. And we look at his other stats for that season. Obviously, he had 17,000 plus yards. Darius, how many touchdowns does it say he had?
I believe 9.
9. All right. So he wasn't exactly getting fed the ball every play when they were in the red zone, but red zone is not the name of his game. His name of his game is slot, right? So for a slot receiver to break any type of record or go over 1,000, you really got to be throwing the ball, unless it's a Tyreek Hill type situation where he's a deep threat, right? But you usually don't see Tyreek Hill playing in the slot. Usually, slot receivers don't get 1,000-yard seasons. Julian Edelman, who is a prolific slot receiver for the Patriots, only has 3 1,000-yard seasons. He's been playing in the league since 2009, right? That goes to show you something. The slot receiver is not necessarily a highly touted position. You have to be truly, either you have to fit your scheme perfectly or you have to be truly elite to succeed at the slot position.
Aiden, the fact of the matter is that Michael Thomas, he is an automatic reception. Aiden, I believe his career catch rate is, I believe, 87.9%, which is close to 90.
Oh, Jesus.
He is an automatic reception. But Aiden, I'm still going to get him on, though. I am still going to get on him. And this does not take away the fact that Michael Thomas is a distraction in the locker room, right? If you get in a fight in the locker room,
It was on the field.
practice,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
in the locker room, and from multiple reports, yell at the coaching staff of the Saints, most notably the head coach Sean Payton, as you mentioned, Aiden. It shows a lack of maturity and leadership in such a talented player, Michael Thomas. And such a talented player. I understand, Aiden, that injuries are a part of the game. But Aiden, as you mentioned, if you can't stay on the field and you're just cracking open a soda on the bench, who's there to say that you are a factor or a valuable piece to this New Orleans Saints team? Right? Aiden, I'm skeptical about the Saints trying to trade Michael Thomas, as you mentioned, Aiden. His contract situation,
Massive.
he's getting paid. It's pretty massive, right? But if Michael Thomas does continue this season with a plethora of injuries and continues to be a distraction in the locker room, I actually really think it's time for the Saints to move in another direction. Aiden, if the Saints want to test the waters or involve Michael Thomas in some trade talks, I think they would be very interested and very intrigued in a deal or two, right? When you look at the Saints, they are currently on a 3-game win streak, right? They just came off of it,
Barely.
right? They came off of a dynamic win against the Carolina Panthers and Teddy Bridgewater, right? This team is in rhythm and in sync, right? And they could actually make a push to win the NFC South, their division. The NFC South, I believe that they have a possibility of beating out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and getting that #1 seed in the NFC South and get that home field advantage when playoff time arrives. But
Seahawks are getting that home field advantage.
home field advantage,
Looks like it.
I'm talking about the second round. Like they could get a home,
Okay. Got it.
at least one home game, because you know how big home field advantage is for the Saints. Superdome,
Oh, yeah.
right? And Drew Brees, this season, I even had thoughts of him becoming washed. But Aiden, we always forget about that dude in the backfield named Alvin Kamara.
Mm.
Basically carried the load for the New Orleans Saints due to the absence of Michael Thomas. You can't,
He also got paid a lot.
right? Of course, right? He did get paid, but you still look at those other receivers. You still have Emmanuel Sanders, veteran. I believe Taquan Smith. He's a good, reliable target. Jared Cook, phenomenal big tight end, right? And that offensive line it's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. It's
It's
most
top 3 O-line in the league.
3-0
Every
and that defense is definitely taking a step up from last season. You got Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, right? Marshawn Lattimore, Eli Apple, right? Those dudes right there. Hey, they have been phenomenal this season. And really, the Saints, they each player on that team is pretty much taking a step up because they knew without Michael Thomas catching the ball and providing yards for that team, they thought without Michael Thomas, this team was over. But hey, with this 3-game win streak, I understand you barely beat the Lions, right? I understand you lost to the Las Vegas Raiders in week 2. Right, those games right there, I believe you won by either 3 or 6 points against the Carolina Panthers, which should have been a blowout. But still, the Saints right now, they are a playoff team, Aiden. And if Michael Thomas does not get back on the field the same way this season. I really think that he is a one season wonder. He's a one season wonder. If he
Well, I mean, he's obviously a consistent receiver. He's had previous Pro Bowl seasons.
consistent, but guess what? If he comes back on the field and plays like a straight up bust and a bum, hey Aiden.
He's a second round pick. This was better than anybody projection.
But still, if last season you are the offensive player of the year, you're an all pro player, you're a Pro Bowl, you had a phenomenal season, you're getting paid, and now you get injured, right? I believe it was calf injury, and now it's hamstring injury, and now you come back and just play the same way you did in week one, which is 3 receptions and 17 yards. Hey, that's not the Michael Thomas I expected this season. I expected Michael Thomas to just skyrocket. Like, I think he could, when the season began, actually, he could eclipse that number one spot for being the best wide receiver if he could actually not if he could run some more routes, so I catch the deep balls more and not run slants all the time, right? At
He's
least
not a deep threat. It's
possibly.
not the name of this game.
Possibly, but we never know. But if he comes back and plays like a straight up bust and plays worse than he did last season, even worse, right? I'm thinking, hey, the Saints don't release him, trade him because guess what? You could actually get something from him, right? The Saints could actually get another phenomenal wide receiver in exchange because you're letting go of a massive contract to Michael Thomas, and you could possibly get one or two one or two more reliable receivers on your team to replace Michael Thomas. You already have Emmanuel Sanders, Daquan Smith, and right Alvin Kamara and Jared Cook could carry the load and provide Drew Brees some more reliable targets. Is this Drew Brees last season? I don't know. Depending on the targets and depending on how far the Saints go this season, this should determine Drew Brees' fate and a New Orleans Saints uniform. Aiden, you have the last words.
Just that Michael Thomas needs to get his you know what together, or else he's going to see some change that he might not agree with. Now, while I agree that it will be extremely hard to trade him because there's not a lot of teams with that kind of cap space, I believe it is still possible to trade him.
Do you think
Just a word of warning.
sorry. Do you think Michael Thomas will be the same Michael Thomas that we saw last season?
Nobody's when you break a record, you're highly unlikely to replicate those same stats. Calvin Johnson didn't replicate it. Julio Jones hasn't replicated his 300-yard game. You don't replicate stuff like that, right? So I highly doubt that he'll ever have numbers like that again. Now, like you said, with Drew Brees force feeding him the ball, they didn't really have a lot of receiver options last year. Now that you have Emmanuel Sanders, the deep threat, Drew Brees doesn't always have to go for the check down, right? He's reaching the end of the road, but I still believe that he can throw the deep ball consistently. I think that takes a lot away from Michael Thomas's usage in the offense. But yeah, no, I don't believe he can replicate those same numbers.
If Michael Thomas does get involved in trade talks, what do you think will be the most? What? Let me rephrase the question. If Michael Thomas is involved in trade talks, what do you think would be the most possible destination for him?
At first I would say the Eagles, but they don't have the cap space for that, right? You pay Carson Wentz way too much. You don't have the cap space for that. Then we could look at another team. Then we look at another in division team. No, no, no. I mean, I would say right now the prime opposition would probably be the Bears, the Eagles, because they obviously don't have a consistent number one guy or a consistent guy who can. The Eagles don't have somebody who can do anything. But the Bears do have a good receiver I believe that they should pay an Allen Robinson. They don't have a slot guy, right? Those are my two top teams. The other teams that you would probably say, I'd say don't have enough cap space or don't have enough assets, right? So to get Michael Thomas, you either need a first-round pick or a top-tier player that the Saints want because that is a huge contract.
Absolutely.
You need cap space, a first-round pick, and a player and capital that the Saints need.
Absolutely. You heard it. You heard it here first. I am Darius Sims, and that is Aiden Munson. And we thank you for watching. this brand new episode of Sports Time Darius Hayden. Make sure to catch us every weekday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and every other major podcast network. This episode was brought to you by Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast. The easiest way to make a podcast. Make sure to catch them out at anchor.fm. And if you haven't have a podcast, link the switch today at anchor.fm/switch. I'm Darius Simon, that's Aiden Musson, and this has been Sports Time Darius Aiden. See you tomorrow, everybody. Peace and love.